My pipeline could see every file, but it couldn't delete a single one. The problem wasn't the code, it was permissions. And in production data lakes, permissions are one of the most common reasons cleanup pipelines fail in confusing and misleading ways. This was the next hard lesson I learned while building an Azure Data Factory cleanup pipeline. Welcome to Data in Practice. This channel is about how data actually works in the real world, from data engineering and analytics to business intelligence, governance, and production data platforms. Not ideal designs, not theory, just what actually happens at scale. At first, my cleanup pipeline looked fine. It could connect to the data lake. It could list folders. It could enumerate files. Everything suggested it was working. Then it tried to delete something, and it failed consistently. The error messages weren't helpful. Sometimes it looked like a service issue. Sometimes a transient failure, sometimes a bug in the pipeline. But the logic was fine. The problem was permissions. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2 uses two permission systems. RBAC controls whether an identity can access the storage account. ACLs control whether that identity can access specific folders and files. You can pass RBAC and still fail ACLs. That's exactly what happened. My pipeline could list files, but it couldn't delete them, because listing requires read permissions, deleting requires write permissions, and folder traversal requires execute permissions. A simple way to think about it: read lets you see the door, write lets you open it, execute lets you walk through it. Miss any one of them, and deletion fails. This creates a common failure pattern. The pipeline runs, it finds files, then deletion fails, and the error looks like a runtime issue, not a security problem. The fix wasn't changing code, it was changing access. Granting the pipeline identity: read to enumerate folders, write to delete files, execute to traverse directories, on the correct paths, not just at the container level. This is where permissions become dangerous. If permissions are too broad, your blast radius increases, meaning one mistake can delete far more data than intended. If permissions are too narrow, the pipeline fails. So permission design becomes part of your safety model, not just a technical requirement or a setup task. From then on, permissions were part of the architecture. I documented which identity the pipeline uses, which folders it can read, which folders it can delete, and why. Every cleanup pipeline had a clear permission boundary. Here's the takeaway: if your pipeline can list files but can't delete them, don't change the code first. Check RBAC, check ACLs. Treat permissions as production architecture. In the next episode, I'll cover performance and scale, why Azure Data Factory is good at coordination, but inefficient as a file system engine, and when native storage lifecycle rules are the better choice. Like if this was useful, and subscribe for more real-world data engineering lessons. Thanks for watching.